Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a statement that has shaped fortunes, saved dreams, and rebuilt Lev's life pays back what you plant. Not immediately, not magically, but inevitably. There is a law working silently behind every success story, every failure, every result you admire, and every regret you carry. It is older than written history, yet newer than tomorrow's sunrise. It's simple enough to grasp in minutes, yet deep enough to guide a lifetime. And today we are going to bring it out of the shadows and into your hands, the law of sowing and reaping. Before we truly begin, I want you to imagine something with me. Picture a vast field, your field. It stretches as far as your eye can see. In this field lies the future of your finances, your relationships, your health, your learning, your reputation, and your dreams. And here's the key: this field does not decide what grows, you do. Every action you take, every habit you form, every word you speak, every effort you choose or neglect becomes a seed dropped into that soil. And the soil, without judgment or bias, gives you back what you planted multiplied. You might be wondering, why should I stay for the rest of this message? Because if there is one principle that can turn confusion into clarity, excuses into action, and potential into progress, it is this one. Many people look at someone else's results and say life is unfair, but the truth is life is operating on a law that works the same for every person willing to participate. Understand this law deeply, and you stop asking, why don't I have what I want? Instead, you start asking, am I planting the seeds required for what I want? Stay with me, because in the next minutes, we will uncover why some people work hard and see little return, while others seem to gain momentum with every action. We will reveal why disappointment doesn't always mean failure, and why patience is often the missing link between effort and breakthrough. And perhaps most importantly, we will discover why doing nothing is not harmless. It is planting the seeds of regret. The purpose of this message is not to motivate you for the moment, but to give you a principle strong enough to carry you through years. A principle that makes success feel less like luck and more like responsibility. Because once you truly understand the law of sowing and reaping, you can no longer blame the soil, the seasons, or the weather of circumstance. You recognize that your harvest, good or bad, is shaped by your seed. So I invite you to open your mind. Let the noise of doubt fade for just a moment. If you allow it, this law will not only explain your past, it will empower your future. Because your field is waiting, and the seeds you plant next could change everything. Stand with me again at the edge of that wide open field, your field. The wind is calm, the soil is ready, the tools are waiting, yet the ground remains silent, empty, untouched. You walk across it every day, hoping that something will appear, wishing that life will change, that success will knock on your door, that opportunity will finally find your address. But nothing grows, nothing changes, nothing shifts, and there's a reason you have not sown. This is the first and perhaps the most uncompromising part of the law. You cannot reap what you do not sow. Harvest requires seed. Progress requires action. Results require effort, and life will not break this rule for anyone, not for the rich or poor, not for the talented or the struggling, not for the confident or the afraid. The law is fair because it is consistent. Let's speak plainly. You cannot reap knowledge from books you never read. You cannot reap fitness from workouts you never started. You cannot reap skill from practice you avoided. You cannot reap trust from promises you never kept. You cannot reap income from talents you never offered. Too many people sit in the middle of their life like that farmer staring at bare ground, saying, why is nothing happening for me? As if harvest falls from the sky rather than rises from the ground. But the ground is honest. The ground does not lie. The ground does not care whether you have dreams, goals, or intentions. The ground only responds to seeds. Dreams, after all, are just blueprints. Seeds are the bricks. Effort is the mortar. And consistency is the hand that lays them one by one. Many people misunderstand effort. They wait for motivation first. They say, when I feel inspired, I will start. But inspiration does not precede sowing. Sowing precedes inspiration. Action brings energy. Energy brings momentum. Momentum brings willingness. And willingness brings results. You don't wait to feel ready to plant. You plant first, and the feeling grows alongside the seed. Think of your goals as fruits not yet born. You cannot wish them into existence. You cannot manifest them by imagination alone. There is magic in vision, yes, but only when vision guides your hands into the soil. The universe delivers harvest to those who provide seeds. Now, don't misunderstand. Effort is not always dramatic. Small seeds count. The first page you read, the first minute you walk, the first dollar you save, the first conversation you repair, these are not insignificant. They are beginnings. And beginnings are powerful because they break inertia. The moment you plant one seed, you are no longer a dreamer staring at soil. You are a sower engaged in life's greatest partnership, effort and reward. Here's the beauty of this law. You don't have to sow everything at once. You only have to begin. Small seeds planted consistently with intention lead to fields full of harvest later. But no seed planted, no matter how motivated you are, leads to nothing but regret. People don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lack beginning. Some say, I'm waiting for the right time, but the right time is rarely waiting for you. Seasons change. Circumstances shift. Resources appear and disappear. If you wait for perfect, you'll wait forever. The perfect moment to start is always before the harvest, not after. Consider the student who keeps planning to study tomorrow, the writer who will pen their masterpiece when life is less busy, the entrepreneur who says, maybe next year, the parent who says, I'll spend time with them when things settle down. Years pass, the soil remains untouched, and the harvest never comes. Why? Because intention is not sowing, design, planning is not sowing, only action is sowing. And action, even small, counts more than intention multiplied by 1,000. So let's make this practical. What harvest do you want? Start tracing it backwards to the seed. Want confidence. Sow preparation. Want respect. Sow integrity. Want opportunity. Sow service. Want clarity. Sow learning. Want financial growth. Sow value. Want love. Sow presence. Want peace. Sow discipline. There is no real mystery here, only responsibility. The world becomes less complicated once you accept that effort is the price of admission. Not effort someday, effort today. Each day you delay, the field stays barren. Each day you begin, even a little, the field awakens. Here's a truth that can sting before it heals. Your future harvest is not determined by what you want. It is determined by what you do. Wanting strawberries won't grow strawberries. Admiring someone else's field won't grow your own. Comparing yields won't change your seeds. And here's the comforting part. No one can take this away from you. If your start has been slow, you can sow today. If your past is full of missed seasons, you can sow today. If fear has held you back, courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means sowing even while afraid. Listen to this line carefully and carry it forward. You don't need to be great to sow, but you must sow to become great. So look again at your field, your life, your possibilities, your future. Don't stand with empty hands hoping for growth. Roll up your sleeves, reach into your bag of seeds and drop one, just one, into the soil of effort today. Because once you sow, the law begins moving in your favor. And once the law begins moving in your favor, tomorrow begins to look different. You cannot reap what you do not sow, but the moment you sow, the harvest becomes possible. Let's return to our field, the one that represents your life, your dreams, your ambitions. Picture the seeds you have already planted. Some are small, some are large, some might even seem insignificant. And now consider this: the law we are exploring does not merely care about effort. It is precise, uncompromising, and elegantly simple. You will always reap what you sow. This means that the harvest is never random. It is never accidental. You cannot plant corn and expect apples. You cannot plant gossip and expect respect. You cannot plant laziness and expect achievement. The law is clear, consistent, and fair. The results you receive are a reflection, a mirror of the seeds you have planted. Many people struggle with this truth because they expect life to deliver surprises without investment or miracles without action. They see someone else's success and think, they are lucky, I will never get the same. But they miss the reality that person's harvest is the natural outcome of seeds they planted long ago, often in private, often without fanfare, often during seasons when others were resting, complaining, or doubting. Let me make this concrete. If you sow kindness, you will reap loyalty and friendship. If you sow honesty, you will reap trust and reputation. If you sow hard work, you will reap opportunity and achievement. Conversely, if you sow neglect, you will reap failure. If you sow complaint, you will reap frustration. If you sow fear, you will reap missed chances. Notice something critical here: your results match your seeds. They do not exceed them magically. They do not come in a form you have not prepared for. The law does not negotiate excuse or compromise. It simply reflects. And therein lies the power, because if your results are not where you want them to be, you have absolute clarity about the cause, your seeds. Some of the most transformational moments in life occur the instant you understand this principle fully. No longer can you blame luck, the economy, your family, or your environment. Instead, you gain control, because now you know that the next harvest depends on the seeds you choose today. But let's dig a little deeper. This principle also teaches the importance of intentionality. Sowing is not just action, it is deliberate action. Planting random seeds may produce results, yes, but rarely the results you truly want. To reap success, to reap fulfillment, to reap excellence, you must plant with a clear purpose. You must ask, is this seed aligned with the life I want? Every conversation, every habit, every decision becomes an opportunity to plant intentionally. Consider someone who sows learning daily, reading books, seeking mentors, studying their craft. Their harvest knowledge, whim, skill, and eventually opportunity. The seed is clear. The result matches. Another person spends the same amount of time, but only in entertainment, distraction, and avoidance. Their harvest: stagnation, missed chances, and regret. Equal time, different seeds. That is the law in action: precise, impartial, unyielding. There is also a lesson here about patience and consistency. Some seeds take time to grow. Some require careful nurturing. But you can trust the principle: if the seed is good and you tend it consistently, the harvest will come. Life does not reward inconsistency. The field does not respond to sporadic planting. It responds to persistence, focus, and the repeated commitment to sowing what aligns with your desired harvest. Here is another powerful truth. The type of seed determines the quality of the harvest. Plant mediocre effort and you will receive mediocre results. Plant dishonesty, laziness, or neglect, and the harvest will reflect that. Plant excellence, integrity, discipline, and care, and your results will mirror those qualities. Nothing is lost, nothing is unfair. You get exactly what you plant. This principle can also be liberating. No more excuses. No more waiting for someone else to act. No more blaming circumstance. Once you understand that you will reap what you sow, you recognize that your life is largely in your control. You can change the seeds, change your habits, change your attitude, and in time, change your harvest. Some people fail to see this truth because they focus only on the result, not the seed. They look at their current reality in despair. But a wise person asks, what seeds have I planted? And what seeds do I need to plant now? The answer always lies in action, not wishful thinking. The law of sowing and reaping is simple, fair, and elegant. You do not get cheated. You do not get bypassed. You do not get rewarded for inaction. Your results, your reality, your harvest, these are the mirror of the seeds you plant today, this week, this year, and over a lifetime. So step into this principle. Evaluate your seeds. Choose them carefully. Plant them intentionally. Tend them with care. And remember, the harvest will match the seed. Your results are waiting. But before you can enjoy them, you must first sow with intention, because you always, without exception, reap what you sow. Let's stand once more in our field. Look closely at it. You see the soil, the seeds, the empty space, but now imagine something powerful. A single seed you plant today has the potential to grow beyond your imagination. One seed can produce a plant. That plant produces fruit. The fruit contains more seeds. Those seeds scatter, take root, and multiply. What started as one simple action has expanded into a whole forest. This, my friends, is one of life's most incredible truths. You often reap more than you sow. The law of sowing and reaping is precise, yes, but it is also generous. Small, consistent, intentional actions compound in ways that astonish you. A single choice, repeated over time, can transform your health, your relationships, your finances, and your character. Think about it in practical terms. 1 hour spent learning a new skill. 1 minute of kindness offered to someone in need. 1 act of discipline repeated day after day. At first it seems small. At first it seems almost invisible. But slowly, steadily, the impact grows. Trust accumulates. Strength multiplies. Wealth compounds. And suddenly you look back and realize that what began as a tiny seed has transformed your entire field. Many people fail to recognize this principle because they undervalue the small. They think success comes only from grand gestures, monumental effort, or a sudden breakthrough. They ignore the everyday, the ordinary, the unnoticed habits. Yet these small actions, these tiny seeds, are what truly determine the harvest. Let's take an example everyone can relate to: money. Suppose you save just a little each month, invest wisely, and allow it to grow over years. At first, the numbers are small, barely noticeable. But thanks to compounding, what seems insignificant today becomes substantial tomorrow. The same principle applies to personal growth. Reading 10 pages a day, writing a paragraph, practicing a skill for 20 minutes, small, consistent effort accumulates into mastery. The beauty of this principle is that it also works in the positive and negative direction. Small negative habits also multiply. Neglecting exercise for a few days becomes weeks, months, years of poor health. Ignoring relationships slowly erodes trust and love. Complaining and blaming, even in small doses, attract more negativity into your life. This is the shadow side of sowing. The harvest is always a reflection of the seed. But here's the empowering truth. You have the ability to plant good seeds, and those small seeds multiply. A single positive action, one phone call, one step toward learning, one act of courage can set off a chain reaction that transforms your entire life. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to take huge leaps. You just need to start sowing consistently and allow time and patience to do the multiplying. Consider the story of a teacher, a coach, or a mentor. One encouraging word, one lesson taught with care, one example set in integrity. These small acts ripple far beyond the immediate moment. A student inspired today may teach others tomorrow. One life touched multiplies into countless lives transformed. The law of sowing and reaping works invisibly and relentlessly. What you give, even in the smallest measure, returns with growth and power. There's also a lesson in faith and vision here. Small seeds require belief. They require trust that your actions, however modest, are not wasted. Planting a seed in a field does not give you immediate fruit. You water it, protect it, and nurture it, trusting that time will reveal the harvest. Life operates the same way. The small, consistent actions you take now, learning, serving, loving, building, may not produce visible results immediately, but over time they multiply exponentially. One more dimension of this principle is that your harvest often exceeds your expectations. A tiny seed of effort can grow beyond what you imagined. A habit practiced for years builds character beyond measure. A simple decision to invest in yourself multiplies into confidence, opportunity, and influence. You reap more than you sow because life rewards persistence, patience, and consistent care in ways that surprise and delight you. Finally, remember this: The multiplication of small seeds does not require perfection, only persistence. You do not need to see immediate results. You do not need to compare your progress to someone else. Plant your seed, water it, tend it. Trust the process. Over time, your small actions will compound in ways that feel almost miraculous. And when you finally see the harvest, you will understand that the smallest efforts often yield the greatest rewards. So as you reflect on your life, look at the small seeds you have been planting, both positive and negative. Evaluate your daily habits, your choices, your words, your actions. Understand that each small, consistent seed has the potential to multiply into extraordinary results. Life rewards those who sow persistently, patiently, and with intentionality. Remember, the law is not only fair, it is generous. You often reap more than you sow. One small effort, repeated consistently, can transform a lifetime. One seed planted today can change everything tomorrow. Plant wisely, plant intentionally, plant consistently, and watch your life multiply beyond your imagination. Let's return to our field once more. Imagine a farmer who plants seeds today. He waters them, nurtures them, protects them from pests and weeds, and checks the soil every day. He expects results immediately, but nothing appears above the soil for weeks. Some days he doubts. He wonders if his effort was wasted. He worries that the harvest might never come. But deep down, he knows the law of seeds need time. Growth takes seasons. Life works exactly the same way. You don't always reap in the same season you sow. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the law of sowing and reaping is timing. Many people plant seeds of effort, discipline, and learning and expect instant results. They sow a habit for a week and expect mastery. They invest in a skill for a month and expect fortune. They start building a relationship and expect trust overnight. When results don't appear quickly, they give up, forgetting the essential truth: growth takes time. Consider this. The oak tree does not become massive overnight. The tiny acorn you plant today must first root and push a small sprout above the soil. Over years, it strengthens, grows branches, produces leaves, and finally reaches maturity. The same principle applies to every area of your life. Success is not an event, it is a process. And that process requires patience, consistency, and unwavering trust in the law of sowing and reaping. Many people fail because they measure progress by immediate visibility. They confuse delay with failure. They look at a young seed and judge it by the fruit it will bear decades later. But the law does not operate on impatience. It operates on consistency, on time, on nurturing. You cannot rush a harvest any more than you can rush the sunrise. Let's talk about personal growth. You may read a book, attend a seminar, or start a new habit, but your mind will not change overnight. Your skill will not improve in a day. Your health will not transform in a week. Yet each small step repeated day after day is planting invisible seeds beneath the surface. Those seeds are doing quiet, patient work, and when the right season comes, the results emerge naturally. This principle also teaches us resilience. Life may seem unfair when effort does not immediately yield results, but the key is to understand that the law of sowing and reaping is not broken. It is simply operating on its own timetable. The harvest is coming, but it is coming in its season. If you stop sowing because results are delayed, you prevent the harvest from ever appearing. Patience, then, is not passive. It is an active choice to continue planting, nurturing, and trusting the process. Look at the world's most successful people. Few achieved greatness overnight. The entrepreneurs who built empires invested years of consistent effort before seeing returns. The athletes who dominate their sport trained countless hours before earning recognition. The authors, musicians, and artists who inspire millions practiced relentlessly before their work gained attention. Their success was never instant, but it was inevitable because they understood one truth: reaping comes after sowing, often in a different season. Another lesson embedded in this keynote is faith in the invisible work. You may not see immediate results from the effort you are putting in today. You may not feel progress immediately, but just as roots grow beneath the soil before a plant appears, your work is quietly preparing the foundation for future success. Trusting this process allows you to maintain consistency. Even when circumstances seem discouraging, patience also teaches the value of timing. Some seeds, if harvested too early, will produce little or no fruit. Others, if ignored for too long, may wither. Life rewards those who understand the rhythm of seasons, who sow diligently and wait wisely. The combination of persistent effort and patient timing is a powerful force, capable of transforming ordinary actions into extraordinary harvests. It's important to remember that patience is not idleness. You are not waiting for luck or miracles. You are actively planning, nurturing, and preparing while the seeds mature. Every book read, every skill practiced, every conversation nurtured, every effort repeated is contributing to the eventual harvest. The visible results are delayed, but the invisible work is never wasted. Finally, recognize that every delay carries a lesson. Patience builds character, waiting strengthens resilience, trusting the law cultivates discipline. And when the harvest finally arrives, it is sweeter and more enduring because it has been earned through both effort and time. So, as you reflect on your life, understand this truth clearly. You may not reap in the same season you sow, but the harvest is guaranteed if you continue to plant, nurture, and trust the process. The law of sowing and reaping does not fail. It does not hurry. It does not cheat. It simply requires that you remain diligent, patient, and committed. Plant your seeds today, nurture them with care, trust the seasons, and when the harvest finally comes, you will realize that every day of patience was a necessary part of the reward. The field waits for no one, but it honors those who sow consistently and patiently. Let's return to our field. This time, imagine a plot of soil left untouched, no seeds planted, no care given, no attention. At first glance, it seems peaceful, perhaps even convenient. But slowly, inevitably, nature begins to fill that space, not with the harvest you wish for, but with consequences. Weeds emerge, rocks appear, insects invade. Life doesn't remain empty. Inaction, neglect, and indifference are themselves seeds, and they produce a harvest, just not the one you desire. This is a truth many people overlook. Not sowing is also a choice, and it comes with consequences. You cannot escape the law of sowing and reaping by doing nothing. The field does not remain neutral. It will always respond to what is planted, whether that is intention, effort, or neglect. Every day that passes without deliberate action, a seed of stagnation, regret, or missed opportunity is being planted. Consider your health. Ignoring your body, skipping exercise, eating poorly, neglecting rest is a seed. Eventually, it produces a harvest: fatigue, illness, or diminished vitality. The seed of neglect grows silently, but its effects are real and unavoidable. On the other hand, planting even small habits of care, daily walks, better nutrition, mindful rest yields energy, resilience, and longevity. The same principle applies to relationships. Failing to invest time, attention, and care in the people who matter is a seed. Over time, distance grows, trust erodes, and connections weaken. Conversely, the seeds of intentional communication, presence, and support multiply into stronger bonds, loyalty, and love. Neglect is never neutral. It always produces something. Financially, the consequences of inaction are equally real. Ignoring opportunities to save, invest, or build skills is a seed. Left unattended, it grows into missed opportunities, financial stress, or stagnation. But planting seeds of learning, budgeting, and investment, even modest ones, can multiply into wealth and security over time. The law of sowing and reaping is impartial. It does not excuse inactivity. Doing nothing is an active choice, even if it feels passive. It is a seed that grows quietly, but inevitably. Many people fail to see this because they focus on what they are actively doing wrong. They ignore the damage of what they are failing to do. But remember, omission is also action in the eyes of this law. Some people believe that waiting, postponing, or hoping for change without effort will somehow yield results. They say, "I'll start tomorrow," or maybe next month. Yet tomorrow becomes next week, next month becomes next year, and nothing has changed. Life's harvest waits for no one. Neglect is silently planting seeds of disappointment. Every day of indecision, every habit left unattended, every skill left unlearned is contributing to the outcome you will face in the future. But here's the empowering side of this truth. The moment you recognize neglect for what it is, you can change the seeds you are planting. The law is impartial, yes, but it is also responsive. If you begin sowing positive seeds today, action, care, learning, discipline, you shift the trajectory of your harvest. You replace the consequences of neglect with the rewards of intentional effort. The field may have been overrun with weeds, but you can still plant seeds that will grow. This principle also teaches responsibility. Too often, people blame the lack of results on external circumstances, the economy, other people, bad luck. But in truth, the seeds of neglect they planted earlier have produced the outcomes they now face. Taking responsibility means recognizing that your inaction matters as much as your action. Every choice matters, even the choice to do nothing. Neglect also has a compounding effect. A single missed opportunity may feel small, but repeated inaction multiplies the impact. Skills not practiced deteriorate. Relationships ignored become distant. Health neglected weakens. Wealth left untended stagnates. In life, inaction is never neutral. It compounds, and over time, it can produce a harvest far larger than any single active mistake. The key takeaway is this: every day you are either sowing or neglecting. Every action or inaction plants a seed. Every choice matters. The field does not stay empty. The law of sowing and reaping works whether you are aware of it or not. The only question is, what kind of harvest will you accept? Will you continue to allow neglect to plant seeds of regret, or will you step into the field, sow intentionally, and take control of your future? Recognizing the consequences of neglect is the first step. Acting on it is the next. Planting today changes tomorrow. It doesn't erase the past, but it redirects the future. Your field is still capable of producing abundance if you choose to sow with intention, care, and consistency. So take a moment to reflect: what seeds of neglect have you been planting? What weeds have grown unnoticed? And more importantly, what seeds can you plant today that will produce the harvest you truly want? Remember, neglect has consequences. Not sowing is still sowing, but the power to change your harvest lies in your hands starting today. Let's stand once more in our field, the one that represents your life, your opportunities, your future. Look at it carefully. Notice the soil, the sunlight, the rain, the seasons. Now consider this: the field does not discriminate. It does not ask who you are, what your background is, how much talent you have, or what mistakes you made yesterday. The field simply responds to what is planted. The seeds you sow, the effort you invest, the care you give, these are the only things that determine the harvest. This is an incredibly empowering truth. Life at its core is impartiverse, or whatever force governs the law of sowing and reaping, does not play favorites. It does not reward people based on luck, privilege, or past failures. It rewards people based on action, consistency, and intention. Anyone willing to sow diligently, wisely, and patiently can reap abundantly. Consider the implications of this principle. No matter your age, your past, your education, or your circumstances, the opportunity to plant seeds is available to you. The child from a humble home can plant seeds of learning and diligence that grow into a life of opportunity and influence. The adult who has faced repeated failures can plant seeds of discipline, courage, and perseverance to create a new harvest. Even the person who feels lost or behind can step into the field, plant intentional seeds, and begin to shape a new future. The law is impartial. It does not care who you were, only what seeds you choose to plant now. Many people fail to recognize this truth because they look at others and assume success is about privilege, luck, or innate talent. They say they had connections or they were born lucky, but look closer. The field gives the same opportunity to everyone willing to sow. Those who succeed are simply the ones who understood the law and acted on it consistently. They planted seeds when others were idle. They nurtured their growth when others doubted. They persevered through seasons of difficulty when others gave up. The difference is not who they are, it is what they did. This keynote teaches a lesson in empowerment. You are not limited by your past. Your potential is not determined by your history. Your harvest is determined by the seeds you plant today. You do not need special permission to succeed. You do not need approval from anyone else. The field is open to all. The opportunity is universal. What matters is that you sow with wisdom, effort, and persistence. Let's also consider fairness. Life often feels unfair when we compare ourselves to others. We see someone achieving quickly and wonder why we are behind. But when we understand that the field does not discriminate, we realize that comparison is meaningless. The only person whose seeds matter is the one you are planting. Your neighbor's harvest does not diminish your own. Their success is irrelevant to yours. The field responds to your seeds, not theirs. This principle also instills hope. No matter how barren your current field may seem, you can plant seeds today. You can begin building wealth, improving health, strengthening relationships, or developing skill regardless of your starting point. The impartiality of the field means that your effort, consistently applied, will produce results. It may not be immediate, it may require patience, but the opportunity is available. Anyone who is willing to sow can reap. Another dimension of this principle is perseverance. Because the field does not discriminate, setbacks are not permanent. Mistakes, failures, or missed opportunities do not prevent you from planting anew. Every day presents a chance to sow better seeds, to improve, to act with more wisdom. The impartiality of the field assures us that no one is permanently excluded from the possibility of harvest. You can always start again. You can always sow. You can always grow. Let's reflect on personal responsibility. The impartiality of the field does not mean results happen without action. It simply means that action is rewarded fairly. Plant a seed of diligence, reap growth. Plant a seed of integrity, reap trust. Plant a seed of discipline, reap freedom. Plant a seed of care, reap meaningful relationships. The law does not favor excuses, it favors action. Anyone willing to sow can reap, but they must plant. Finally, remember this: the field's impartiality is liberating. It removes fear, doubt, and envy. You do not need to worry about luck, circumstances, or the actions of others. Your focus is clear. What seeds are you planting today, and how are you tending them? The answer to that question determines your harvest. So, as you step back from this field in your mind, recognize the power you have. The soil is ready. The seasons are dependable. The law is impartial. Your past does not disqualify you. Your current limitations do not define you. Anyone who plants seeds consistently with care, intention, and patience will reap a harvest that reflects their effort. The field doesn't discriminate. The opportunity to sow is universal. The harvest is available to all. All that is required is that you step into the field, plant, nurture, and trust the process. The seeds you plant today can change everything tomorrow. The field is ready. The law is fair. Anyone willing to sow can reap.